Hey, what's up everybody, Shelby here again. Just after the Xbox reveal happened, well for me it was last night. So now it's called, we know it's the Xbox One, which is interesting and it wasn't really expected. But I'm just going to give a summary of kind of what happened. So in the intro, they kind of talked about taking over the living room to make it a live experience. And that every device, like your tablet, your phone, your console, your TV and your computer, will all be harmonizing together in one experience with you at the center. And their core kind of goals were to make it simple, instant and complete. So there was a big focus on KINECT, which I'm personally not a fan of. I don't like KINECT at all. I think it's kind of like an upgraded version of iToy, which just didn't work. But that being said, there were some interesting upgrades to it. But as for the console itself, it kind of looks like a media PC, which kind of goes with the whole theme that they were going for, where it would kind of complement your living room and that all-in-one experience. The Yusef guy, he talked about KINECT a little bit more, and it was very, very KINECT oriented. But there was instant switching, which was very nice, and then he brought out Internet Explorer, and that wasn't as nice. But there was some new gestures like swiping to the side and snap mode, which was interesting. When I see because I use Windows 8 on my computer, and it's very, very similar to that. There was some Skype integration, and they gave an example of NBA integration with the fantasy leagues to keep it, and they made sure that it was simple. But this kind of begged the question whether if you'd need a really fast internet connection, because I personally don't have a fast internet connection, so I would probably be at a disadvantage if I bought the console. The next person, Marc Whitten, he talked about the actual specs of the system. It's kind of similar to the PS4 with an 8-core AMD Jaguar CPU, where the speed wasn't actually said, but it's probably the same CPU, with 8GB of DDR3 RAM compared to 8GB of GDDR5 for the PS4, which is very accurate and very, very fast, which is, I think it was about 176 gigabytes per second with the GDDR5 memory compared to about 25 with DDR3. So I think the PS4 has quite an advantage there, but they both have USB 3. The Xbox has obviously Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi Direct, which is widi, with the controllers. So that's it's kind of a newer technology, but apparently it's quite good. And now a 500 gig hard drive, 7.1 audio, HDMI in and out, 1080p native with 4K support, and lastly a Blu-ray drive. Now this was interesting because Blu-ray is a Sony technology, so therefore whenever an Xbox gets sold, royalties will have to go towards Sony. So at the end of the day, Sony is making money from Xbox, regardless of how well it actually does, the PS4 does. And the peripherals, the KINECT has been redesigned, but I'm still not a fan. It's been upgraded with 30 frames per second, can read your heart rate, which is kind of cool. Their new controller that they showed, you can see it on screen now. They've got an integrated battery, a better D-pad, and they quoted that it was designed by gamers for gamers. Now smart glass, everything works together. That's what they were going for with their Harmony. Their storage bill must be huge. If whoever they're with, whether it's Western Digital or Seagate or whoever, they're going to have a massive bill because they're going to have 300,000 servers up from their 15,000 servers. I think it was within a year or something of the Xbox One launching. And they also added a digital video recorder like Sony with their share button. And they also quoted some asynchronous things such as uploading. They were big on that whole trending idea. What else is there? They said that there was going to be bigger matches and more players with more persisting worlds. So it means that you can leave a game and it'll come back, and the world will be as you left it. Andrew Wilson from EA came and talked about EA Sports and their new engine, which kind of was interesting because it finally brought in some decent graphical crowds. Because I don't know about you, but when I see the crowds in sport games and racing games, I'm kind of disappointed because the cars are really, really nice, but the crowd isn't. So hopefully that's kind of improved. And then he talked a little bit about FIFA Ultimate Team, which he didn't really give any details, but he said there was going to be an Xbox exclusive, which I'm not a fan of. But in their demo, they did show some very nice graphics, and sport games are very hard to have like realistic, if you can see my air quotes, graphics, because there are so many variables. But it was comparatively good compared to, say, FIFA 13 or UFC that I have played. But the animation on the UFC demo was, I think, kind of lame. And Microsoft have been spending a lot of money on exclusives in order to pump up their console. Phil Spencer, he talked about Forza Motorsport 5 on the next Xbox. And I really like racing games graphics. The cars look very nice, and this was no exception. It reminded me of the Drive game that was announced for the PS4. I guess they're kind of the rivals at the moment, with Gran Turismo 6 not being announced for the PS4 yet. And they said that Forza will be available at launch. They talked a little bit about multi-device gaming, so that I'm assuming that would mean that you could play on your Xbox, or you could play on your Windows phone, or iOS, or Android perhaps even. Perhaps play on your computer, on your tablet even. And then they talked a lot about TV with 343 Studios, who make Halo. They're going to have a live action Halo TV series with Steven Spielberg directing it or producing or whatever he's doing, which is quite impressive, really. He talked about his history a little bit, playing Pong in 1974. That was interesting. They talked a bit about the NFL and the Xbox integration, and then obviously they talked about the release. Then they only quoted later this year, kind of the you don't say. They said there's going to be a lot more stuff at E3, which is kind of expected. Now, COD Ghosts, it's going to be a timed exclusive again, unfortunately, for everyone else who isn't on the new Xbox and maybe 360 too. But they did show off their new engine, which has very impressive graphics, I have to admit. I was rather blown away. I wasn't expecting. It looked quite a lot like Battlefield and Crysis put together. And then here are my notes. I've got in capital letters, "Oh my god, a dog." Yep, that was probably a highlight of that little segment. They've got a dog, German Shepherd Special Forces dog, that was the hair on the dog, and it even showed the scars. So the graphics are really improved. There's a lean feature, there's a slide feature, with fluid and smoke dynamics, and even AI fish, which is kind of interesting, that will react when you kind of swim towards them. And it actually looks pretty awesome. Multiplayer has dynamic maps and character customization. They didn't talk much more about that, but and they did say it was going to run at 60 frames a second at what I assume would be 1080p. They were going for emotionally engaging, although I'm not sure how much more emotionally engaging you can get in ghost dying in Modern Warfare 2. It was pretty depressing and engaging. But yeah, I was quite impressed with those graphics. And then as soon as that had done, there was nothing about Battlefield 4, which I was a bit confused about. They said that there was going to be something, but perhaps they were just talking about the EA Sports kind of segment. So it was only over in 65 minutes, I think it was. Whereas Sony's was 2 hours or something. Normally Microsoft events are really nice, and this one, it was good, but it was a bit short, I think. So hopefully this has kind of given you an overview of kind of the summary of the events that happened at the Xbox reveal. So hopefully now you know more about it. You can go and see all the other videos. I'm going to post some links, and I'll post my notes in the description, just if you wanted to have a look at something extra. I didn't use them all in like order of time. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a nice day.